Law school confusion. Solved. The objectives. Today, we will achieve our objectives by looking at the foundations of constitutionalism, the roles of the three arms and commissions, core judicial principles through case analysis, and a comparative legal analysis. The 2010 Constitution was a legal revolution. It marked the pivotal shift from a presidential and parliamentary model to a structured separation of powers model. Its key purpose was to address historical injustices and embed the Bill of Rights, establishing supremacy and constitutionalism as key features. The supremacy of the Constitution. Article 2, Clause 1 establishes constitutional supremacy. The Constitution is the supreme law of the Republic. It binds all persons and all state organs at all levels of government, meaning any law inconsistent with the Constitution is void to the extent of the inconsistency. Why is inconsistent law void? This brings us to the doctrine of ultra vires: any action by a state organ beyond its constitutional powers is null. The consequence is that the court declares the law or action null and void. Let's now tackle three arms of government. Checks and balances are structured around the three arms of government: the executive for implementation and policy, the legislature for lawmaking and oversight, and the judiciary for interpretation and adjudication. The legislature. The legislature's role involves representation, giving a voice to the people and counties, lawmaking, through debating, amending, and passing bills, and oversight, through scrutinizing the executive and state organs. The executive. The executive is responsible for policy implementation, executing laws, and managing the government, coordination of national and county relations, and policy formulation, developing national policies and budgets. Matovu Grundnorm. Case 3, Matovu and the Grundnorm. The concept, based on Kelson's theory, states that the Grundnorm is the ultimate source of legal validity. The principle here is that the new Constitution of 2010 acts as the new Grundnorm, providing legitimacy to all subsequent laws. Section Review. Before we move on to comparative analysis, consider this question: why is judicial activism in Kenya seen as necessary by some legal scholars? Written versus unwritten. Let's compare constitution types, written versus unwritten. A written constitution is consolidated into a single document, like in Kenya and the USA, providing clarity. An unwritten constitution is based on convention and statutes, like in the UK, making it more flexible. Fusion versus separation. Next, fusion versus separation. Separation, practiced in Kenya and the USA, features a clear distinction between the personnel and functions of the executive and legislature. Fusion, is seen in the UK, means the executive is drawn from and accountable to the legislature. Rigidity. Finally, rigidity of amendment. A rigid constitution, like Kenya's, requires a special majority, public participation, and/or a referendum, making it difficult to change. A flexible constitution can be amended by a simple act of parliament. Key takeaways. Let's review the key takeaways. First, supremacy is absolute, no person or organ is above the constitution. Second, balance is mandatory, the three arms and commissions must check each other. Third, the 2010 Charter is dynamic, it demands continuous progressive realization of rights. The Judiciary. The judiciary's role is constitutional interpretation, determining the meaning and scope of the Constitution, adjudication, resolving disputes between citizens and state organs, and ultimately, upholding justice and ensuring the rule of law prevails. Fourth check. The fourth check is performed by independent commissions. These are essential independent watchdogs that provide critical checks on government power. Their role is the protection of rights, promoting good governance, and facilitating devolution. Key commissions. Key examples include the Judicial Service Commission, which oversees the judiciary, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, which fights graft, and the Kenya National Human Rights Commission, which protects fundamental rights. Judicial Review. Judicial review is defined as the power of the courts to examine the constitutionality or legality of legislative and executive actions. Its purpose is to ensure the executive and legislature always act within the bounds of their delegated powers. Ndii case. Case 1, Ndii versus the Attorney General. The issue was whether fundamental structures, like devolution, could be altered via a simple political process. The court established that basic structure doctrine, holding that the Constitution has limits that prevent legislative amendment power. Gender rule. Case 2A, the 2/3 gender rule. The issue was Parliament's failure to enact legislation to meet the minimum 1/3 representation for either gender. The principle established was that the courts ordered mandatory remedial action to force compliance with the equality principle in Article 27. Living document. We close by viewing the Constitution as a living document. It is not static, it requires interpretation and defense by citizens and the courts. Former Chief Justice of Kenya, Dr. Willy Mutunga, highlights the transformative nature of the 2010 Constitution. The Kenyan people chose the route of transformation and not the one of revolution. If revolution is envisaged, then it will be organized around the implementation of the Constitution. Review and thank you. We have now successfully addressed all our objectives, the foundations, the roles, the principles, and the comparative analysis. Thank you for your time and attention. Next topic. The subject is vast. Our next topic in constitutional law will be residential judicata. If you have any questions, you can reach out via the contact information on the bio.
Please subscribe, comment, and like.